Hi, I'm Tom from Peavey here at GAK in Brighton, and I'm here with the legendary Peavey Bandit. First released to the world over 30 years ago. The Bandit's been through many different incantations. A much loved and respected amp. It was always classed as the solid state amp that you could gig. Always well renowned for being built like tanks. The cool thing with the Bandit nowadays is it features our trans-tube system, which was introduced to this particular model in 1995. Because it is a solid-state amp, and people do want solid-state amps because, unfortunately, as great as tubes are, they're expensive, they're heavy, they require different components, they do unfortunately break down as well. So in a Bandit, you've got solid state amp, you've got none of those problems, but you've got all that great tube tone and feel in there because of a trans-tube system. Because how trans-tube works, it's a complete analog circuit, but it recreates how a valve amp works in various different stages, and then it's all pieced together like a recipe in the correct proportions to make sure that the amp comes together and has that tube tone and feel. So, without getting too technical, there's various different stages that the whole tube amp is recreated in the trans-tube system. Firstly, every gain stage clips asymmetrically like a good tube amp should do. The relationship between the tube bias shift and the output transformer in a tube amp is recreated. It's got a lower damping factor. All these elements brought together give you that sort of feel, that sag when you dig in. You get a real tactile sound out of it, so you can actually dig in and get some bite out of it, or you can back off and get a cleaner tone. And as you start to turn the amp up, you'll hear the tone changing. It's really uncanny when you're using one of these live to actually feel it reacting like a tube amp, even though there's no tubes in it whatsoever. The trans-tube system's completely patented. It's unique to Peavey. It's our sort of jewel in the crown of our solid-state amps. And yeah, that's basically the foundations of a Bandit. Dual channel, I have a clean and a lead channel. Each channel has 3 different voicings. So in the clean channel you have vintage, classic and warm. Then, when we switch to the lead channel, which is also foot switchable, we have classic, modern and high gain settings. There is also a reverb, a variable boost, which is foot switchable as well. And on the back, we have an attenuator where you can actually knock the power of the amp down from 100%, which is this amp rated at 80 watts, so that's your full 80 watts there, down to 50 or 25% because of the trans-tube system. If you want to sort of attenuate the amp and get that sort of tube effect at a lower volume, you can use the attenuator on the back. There is also a control that will affect the damping factor of the amplifier. It will give it a loose, tight or medium feel depending on what sort of sound you're after as well, and that's a switch on the rear. And that is the Peavey Bandit.